Some people didn't understand. Like I said, there were certain people that were superstitious, or I don't know. I don't really understand it. But at first, when were first doing the autopsies and stuff like that, um, people were like, "What does it matter? He's dead." And I said, it matters. Find out why exactly how he died. What actually went wrong with the body, actually, or what blah blah about the body. And like I said, a lot of people were trying to stop my people from basically taking apart the bodies to figure out exactly what went wrong. Which is basically the why position. Why? Because it matters. The why incision. Why? Because it matters. Why people die, and all that other stuff. Like I said, there's a lot of superstition or a lot of something. I really, looking back at it, it's basically a lot of people were trying to hold back science or whatever. But basically, people were like, blah blah blah. You're just blah blah, and it's like, no, they're actually looking to see exactly which veins were damaged or exactly what went wrong with the body, because the body is basically just it's a biological machine. So, anyway, but everyone knows that now and all that other stuff, and I was having it done on my order, blah, blah, blah. That's why the Germans were doing it and why other people were doing it, is because I wanted it done. And I was paying people to do it as well. Like I said, well, most people will look back in hindsight and basically wonder who said what, why was this done, who was doing what, and all that other stuff. Well, it was me. And like I said, I am the one thing from which other things came and basically everyone had in common. Like I said, I granted 500 or 5,000 or some odd amount of horses to be given to the Indians, and I had the Indians doing stuff. I had also had the Indians looking out for basically wayward settlers. Like I said, settlers very often would wander off into the wilderness or get lost in the wilderness basically fairly easily, and Indians would come along and find them and then return them to the nearest fort or the nearest civilization. Basically, as usually these people were suffering from dehydration or starvation and nearly death. So, and I believe the Indians were paid, possibly paid, some amount of money for every settler that they collected or found that was lost. And they also helped in searches and other things. They also helped occasionally with hunting and stuff like that. In fact, for quite a while, most settlers looked at the Indians as these super warriors, and even normal settlers always dreamed of wanting to become an Indian or something like that, because they were people that lived by nature and could just walk off. Like I said, the difference between a normal military and an Indian regiment is basically a normal infantry person. You would have to give him provisions, horse, gun, and some sort of map, and probably even signposts telling him where to go. An Indian warrior, on the other hand, you could just say, "Go into mountain and find me blah blah blah," and an Indian warrior would basically walk and basically kill a bear. If it was cold, he would kill a bear, make his little bear suit or whatever, his clothing on the fly, and then hunt as he goes. And basically, he would go and accomplish that task, and possibly even be making a map of the area, or at least be able to recount, his travels. Indians were like super god warriors, basically. You didn't really need to give them anything or tell them really very much at all, and they would basically just deduce and move as they went. And they were really actually rather awesome. They were like my people. So anyway, and there's I was constantly paying them metal or whatever, or arrows or whatever they needed, because they were part of whatever. Like I said, I had been leading the Aztecs and some other stuff, but things change, and blah blah, and also like I spent quite a bit of time with Germany or whatever, some other groups, and basically doing stuff in other countries and all that. And I don't really know. It gets all complicated and very very interesting and strange. I mean, it's hard to really sum up thousands of years or hundreds of thousands of years or lots of different orders. And like I said, every single order, including my order to start prohibition, which is my fault, took carried along. There are lots of ramifications because to every decision, which is why I was very careful. Like I said, I told one person that I wanted her heart or whatever, or something like that, and he cut out a woman's heart for me. And I was like, eee! And that's when I realized that I had to be careful, very, very careful with everything I said, because my people would literally do exactly what I asked. So, yeah. I meant love. Sorry. My bad. Um, anyway, though. Yeah. So, I mean, when you're like that leader, that whatever, you know, small mistakes with vocabulary can have large ramifications. So that's why I was very careful. And there's lots of things as far as like teaching the black people French or whatever, and even creating true French speaking black people and other things. You know, those were some things. Like I say, originally I was with Germany and France, and so I spoke French or whatever, and then I created the what's called, I was picking a language or whatever, and and then, of course, there's Mexican or Spanish and stuff like that. And I believe I created that language myself, possibly because of the way it's structured. And also, eventually, I wanted like something better in English. So anyway, and like I said, it wasn't just me. There were some really good vocabularists or linguistics people. And again, language is L, so Lucifer. I had this L thing going, like I said, a real L thing going where everything L was kind of like me, you know, um, because people always wanted me to name things or whatever things or things that came from me. So L for Lucifer and all that other stuff. And like I said, it means basically sulfur and saltpeter and some other things. It's a powder basically. Um, developed and then sold, just kind of like DuPont or something else like that. But, my thing. Like I said, I had cannons, and I could explain to you how the cannons worked and how the different shells worked and all that. And we used that for breaking up large rocks and stuff like that, and mining and stuff mostly. So, anyway, yeah, and besides, it was a good way to mess around with the metal and stuff like that, metallurgy. Like I said, I don't really care. Everyone's like, it's like, what? Are you hundreds of thousands or trillions of years old? No, probably not. Are you likely to be remembered? Probably not, unfortunately. Um, like I said, all my great people were remembered, and like I said, Abraham Lincoln is not among them. By the way, like I said, once he supposedly adopted me, he commissioned lots of different uh, busts of himself and all kinds of other stuff, and was basically just trying. I don't know, trying to pretend like he was some great man or something like that. Like he was just a person that worked for me in France and could hold still for 30 or 40 minutes. He did some public speaking and some other stuff. He really wasn't all that great. And like I said, in the end, yeah, height rulership and basically saying that all women had to be had to submit their butts for whatever for payment. Um, I think it was like above a certain amount of money they had to basically give their whatever. I don't really know. Like I said, I don't know. You'll have to look it up, but there's a reason why they don't really mention very much about him. Um, and like I said, he may have given his Gettysburg Address as where he was going to be or something like that. Like I said, he was going to be touring my factories and taking my stagecoach or my train out that night or something like that. And by the time they found my body, whatever, he would be whatever. And like I said, he was found having a contest, like paying like 3 gold or 30 gold or something like that for and watching some army people shoot muskets at one another. Like I said, muskets never really were used for war. By the way, nobody used muskets; they're junk. Only in one time there's this one time when a very 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 well organized group actually did kill some people with muskets. And it's like, yes, they kind of could once or twice be used effectively, and that was basically it. As far as weaponry, and those one or two effective uses of muskets took a lot of people to do it, and they really only got one shot. Somebody once basically did do something kind of effective with muskets where they actually had like 5 or 6 teams, and basically they worked it out. So the reload time, so they were constantly firing every second, or every, so it's like fire, reload, and then fire. So with like 6 or 7 rows of them, you could actually continuously have bullets moving forward, basically. And so yes, with grades large numbers, and only once where they, or twice where they actually use effectively, and yes, they may have killed my people doing it. It's not really true that they weren't completely ineffective, but they just weren't very effective. The reload time was way too long, obviously. So anyway, though, but with large groups of them, you could actually use them effectively. I don't really know. Anyway, like I said. So anyway, though, but whatever. There's lots of little skirmishes and lots of little wars, and it's like, it's just getting in the way of the whole, which is basically that, there's more than just killing people and saying, I'm king of the castle. Dying of old age. Wait, no, it's malaria. No, wait, no, it's Ebola. Oh, wait, no, it's poisoning. There's lots of things that can kill you in existence, like just people pooping in a river can actually cause a fair amount of serious problem. You know, um, like I say, my people were always vigilant and whatever, and there's a bigger picture in science, and all that other stuff was very important. That's why I did so well and people lived. Not to mention I had lots of other life form types and everything else. And a very good government structure, basically. Except for the few crazy people that came along. Like I say. There's no accounting for Abraham Lincoln or Jimmy Carter or Richard Nixon or JFK, certain people, like I say. But whatever, there's more of everyone else than there is of them, so, just like there's more of me than everyone else, and it's like, well, exactly. There's one of me, and there's trillion, billion, zillions of everything else. I just happen to be that one. So, which is why I chose the money, I named the country, I've done a lot of things. I had a colony ship. I had lots of other seagoing ships. I was epic. I had a lot of really great people, like the Irish, and a lot of other people. Like I said, the Amish, I believe, were found to be bad people, whatever. They were grabbing people and pulling them back to their little city-state. But then again, that could have been Abraham Lincoln, doing false direction or something like that, because, he was somebody, and basically, but then again, like I said, there's also Jackson or whatever, that, I forget, that other guy, that was what's called, that was getting people to sign, wills or whatever, willing or whatever, in case they died or something like that, or death, whatever. And what they're really signing were land deeds, and then he would go and sell the land deed right away, and people would go to the house expecting to move into the new property, just to find out that someone was still living there. So, and then later on, he was paying people to actually have the people removed. So, I don't know, sign a will or a death, whatever, and then actually be removed because of it. And he was just doing this to basically people who couldn't read and didn't know language or something like that. And it was just an underhanded thing that they were doing. But then again, like I said, Abraham Lincoln supposedly was my father, and supposedly was adopting this poor wayward child that was actually really the creator and actually really the Lucifer star. And it was a death sentence for him. Yeah. I did not take kindly to dying of a fever. And I didn't like it. But it did prove that I really do exist, and I really am me, I suppose, in a way. But in the meantime, he was able to screw around and really mess up everything. So, but oh well, he's dead now. And so are the 16 other look-alike Abraham Lincolns that were running around, for which I put a nice little bounty on, actually, like I say. And there was lots of other things. Like I said, other people contacted me saying that if I didn't take care of him, they were. And so I said, well, I'll tell you what, I'll pay you some money if you do. Because I didn't like him either. And apparently there were lots of women that were raped or whatever, and their husbands or fathers or just people that really were upset by what Abraham Lincoln was doing. You know, I said, just because you own a factory, just because you run a factory, just because you're the leader of a race of people or a planet, does not mean you can just run around doing whatever you want. People are going to get mad and they're going to get pissed off, and then they're going to do whatever they want to do, which can be really, really horrible and really, really bad, and depending on what they want to do. And I said, I'm a little bit different from protected from public opinion and everything else, because I'm Lucifer Starline, the actual creator of your life form type, and several others, and stars and planets and all that. So, yeah. Anyway, I'm sure you'll be saying, no, it's not true, it's not true, it's not true. But I'm sorry, it is true. Anyway, and that's why there are stars and sheriffs. Well, I don't know why they call them the sheriffs. LSL people, I guess, I don't know. Slate people. You know, realistically, like the English and the Germans and a lot of other people, once they understood what was going on and everything else, they were just kind of laughing, because it is kind of laughable and kind of funny, because it's like, well, I'm this epic person, you know, and other people who have crossed me, like Abraham Lincoln, other people found themselves being hunted and very much on the wrong side of everything. And I was not too happy about him. And he was just a sick person, actually, to tell you the truth. And he did not live in the White House. He lived in a White House. That was not the White House. But he was going around telling people that he lived in the White House and he was president or something like that. But he actually just lived in a White House. Anyway, like I said, he was a model. He could stand still for about 30 to 40 minutes, which was required for making a plate that is printable on paper, because he was a model for the clothing line and the top hat and stuff like that. I was paying him to hold still for 30 to 40 minutes, and I'd pay the people all day. So it was a really good deal. You know, you would be paid a full day's wage or something like that, and you would stand still for maybe, if you were really good and you could actually stand still and do everything exactly right, you could basically make a whole day's wage in like 4 or 5 hours, basically. As, you know, you had to hold still, and if you moved at all, it would mess up the plate or something like that. I don't really know. So anyway, so if you're good, you could get like 5 cents or 35 cents a day or 12 cents a day or something like that. I don't really know. Which was the equivalent of basically working in the mine. But, you know, like I said, there's only 2 or 3 people that actually worked for that department or whatever, you know, and it was basically, you know, but it was really easy work, and, you know, you got your picture inside of a magazine or a book, you know, and then people would be ordering clothes and all that other stuff. And of course, Abraham Lincoln, I'm sure, lied and said, oh, it's his clothing line, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, well, he's just a model, really. You know, he looked good in a top hat and a suit, I guess. You know, and basically, so we used him as basically, you know, people would turn the page and like, oh, look, there's a suit. And there would be Abraham Lincoln. And yeah, that's what he did. So, and he also did some public speaking and some other stuff for me and blah, blah. But apparently the public speaking wasn't exactly what I wanted him to say or something. He was just using his free will, I suppose. I don't know. So anyway, he was just an employee. Yeah. And didn't really own anything, maybe a town in Amish land or something like that. I believe he was connected to the Amish, maybe. Abraham Lincoln, AA. He did his A's. I don't know. I don't really know. I don't really care. You know, like, I'm Lucifer Starline. So there's me, and then there's some guy who owned a small town or something like that, Amish land. And realistically, they were caught and rounded up for trying to rape women or trying to force women for having sex. And basically, a town was built, and they were put in the town. Their fences put around the town, and they were told to never leave ever again, or else we would hunt them down and we would kill them. So, I say, that's pretty much the way it is, or was. So, anyway, and even then, they were still caught leaving their town, grabbing women, and yanking them back to Amish land. And once again, police went in. They cut the chains off the poor little women or poor people that were being chained into what's it called, chained down to the floor or chained into the mines. And they were told, and I think that time they actually hung people or something like that. And then they were told again that if this happens again, we'll go back and kill the lots of them, the rest of them. Because, you know, they were just, I don't know, like, dude, try and actually, if you want to mate with a girl, you know, I mean, 12 guys and basically grabbing some poor girl and pulling her back to your city or state is not the right way. That is not approved mating habits, you know, and therefore, you know, would not be tolerated in my country or what's it called. And like I said, this is America and not whatever. So, anyway, yeah. So, like I said, there were quite a few fathers, quite a few people that had had a problem with Abraham Lincoln or his people. So, and did not want to give their back door up for 35 cents or 12 cents. Even though he would offer them $2 or a dollar or something. I don't really know. Like I say, I don't really know. Technically, he killed me, and that would be his small little bit, or was a part of my death at some point in time. So, anyway, yes, and then of course he assumed that he owned everything that was mine, blah blah blah, which is not the case. And like I said, there were many other life forms that would be like, what? Who are you? You know. And then a small check of his funds and records and his employment record, for which he was just a model, which only earned him 12 cents or 35 cents a day. Basically, he blew through that very quickly and was very, very deep in debt to me. So, yeah. As he commissioned quite a few busts or quite a few statues of himself and a lot of other stuff, and was spending money that he just didn't have. So, anyway, yeah, like I said, even the Amish town or whatever, pick an axe and people chained to the floor isn't exactly a very good mining technique. And even though they were working really hard for him, they weren't able to really actually produce very much iron ore or anything, and could not basically support his extravagant lifestyle. Anyway, I believe at some point in time he might have shaved and cleaned up and done away with the top hat and been hiding in Paris for a while. But eventually he was found and cornered and I believe executed or something like that. I'm not exactly sure. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't care. He was of no significance to me or whatever because of the fact, well, other than the fact he killed me and ruined my vacation. But, I mean, like I said, I had a colony ship and spent thousands of years in space. Just like Rodney and Rick Bash and a lot of other people that are around me right now. Though you may actually have ruined my vacation, you know, it's just a little vacation. It's just like 40 years or 50 years in the great span of everything. And, oh, well, you know, I love you too. Well, I mean, I love them, everyone else too. There's a lot of great people in the world that did know of me and did realize me and were working for me and all that. But, you know, and just a lot of people around here just being a little crazy. A little bit ridiculous because it's like, well, you know, just like Abraham Lincoln. Although I admit you didn't kill me right away or lobotomize me as the previous people did do, but oh well, you know. So, anyway, I don't really know. There's a lot of stuff that happened. Anyway, well, I don't speak to the public exactly like this. I speak to the annoying people around me, which are trying to put me in prison or just treat me like shit. But then again, like I say, considering what Abraham Lincoln did, you know, it is a fair amount better and slightly better vacation. So, and a lot more was actually done, I suppose. So, anyway, I also designed diesel, oil rams and hydraulic rams and all kinds of stuff. Although the more technical and fun stuff, you know, a lot of other people did. But I hate to break it to you, but Germans and Japanese or Chinese people and also probably Irish people kicked your ass a long time ago and basically had already invented everything and done everything. So you're a little late. And even computers and everything else like that, I'm sorry, thousands of years ago, they already had everything and all that. So computer games and basically faster computers is about all that's been accomplished in the last whatever years. And sorry, the rest of the galaxy and the rest of the universe, in fact, basically had ascended and done whatever and played around in existence long before you ever came along and long before anything else, because you were doing something else. And mostly, I believe, trying to restrict technology on your own planet and also a few others. But in the whole, it really didn't amount to much. So, despite certain people being acting psychotic and crazy and basically going to any and every and all possibility to restrain and keep technology from being known about and to try and reinforce this whole idea that you are alone in the universe, you are not and never were. And this is actually like the third or fourth or fifth or 100th planet and blah blah blah. And there are thousands of trillions, and basically the rest of the universe is like, what's that? And like I said, when I came back to Earth and I looked at Earth, I said, it's stunted. I don't know what's wrong with it, but my people are stunted. They should have accomplished a lot more by now. It's been X amount of years, blah, blah, and they're still at the same technology level as they were a couple 100,000 years ago or something. Like I said, it's been 99 trillion years. And you have about 680 trillion years, or billion years left on the clock, and about 2 or 3 billion years of water left on this planet. And depending on the sun stability, or star stability factor, you have quite a long time left to exist and live, unless you blow yourselves up. So, you have a long time to think about what you've done and what you're doing. Long time after I'm dead too. So anyway, maybe these videos offer a little bit of understanding to the whole or the population of the world and the whatever out there. But yeah, well, So, I mean, like I say, I'm just Lucifer Starline. The Lucifer Starline of White Star Lines. As it is my name, Lucifer White Star Lines. And Lucifer, like I say, gunpowder and saltpeter and blah, blah. Lucifer's powder. So, anyway, yeah. Metal, guns, cannon, that kind of thing. That's what I did. And protecting my life forms as well. So, and also life form creation and planet creation, water creation, blah, blah. So, anyway, that's who I was. That's who I am. Like I say, it's kind of funny that you would think that there's a White Star Lines or, but who owns White Star Lines? Why is there White Star Lines? Why is there North Star? Why is there South Star? Well, there's a person named Lucifer Star. Me. I had a colony ship, I did a lot of that stuff, and was an inventor, and had some really, really great, wonderful people working for me that would insist on me buying or taking in whole families because, well, you can't just have one of the family members, you have to take in the whole family. So, and like I said, that was their decision, and they would whine to me and say, we have to. And she was so cute and everything else, and they were so cute that I just, I had to take them in. So, and we could afford it, so we did. And like I say, I love my people, I love my life forms, and, we were a family. We are a collective, or, conglomerate or whatever, like the Irish would say. So, and we all work together and blah, blah. And, underneath my flag sometimes, like I say. I am just one life form in the greater existence, but a fairly important one apparently. And also very well loved, and I love my people. Like I said, all those things where a leader or someone says, my heart belongs to my people, or whatever. Like I say, as a creator or a greater existence life form, I am bound to my people, and I am bound to my life forms. They are my existence. I created them, they enabled me, they helped me, they protected me, they loved me, they cared about me, and so therefore, me and them. So, and that's why I tried to give them the best existence and the best whatever possible, because, I know that my existence and me not dying had to do with them. The Irish, the Germans, and a bunch of other people. Possibly even the Japanese or Chinese. So I don't know how many life forms actually played a part in my existence, but, I couldn't exactly just abandon them and just leave them or forget about them. So, anyway, yeah. So, that's why I tried to treat them the best and love them and cared about them and thought about different things and all kinds of things that would make their life better and existence better and a better system, better way. And all kinds of stuff. So, anyway, yeah, Abraham Lincoln was kind of whacked. What can I say? And like I said, well, you didn't see the real true side of Jimmy Carter or Richard Nixon or anybody else. I did a little bit. Anyway, and I'm sorry about that, but what can I say? They had it out for me. So, yeah, I don't know. Anyway, I'm just glad I got my colony ship and I was able to cruise throughout the universe and stuff. With my big wings. Everybody would always ask me,